Welcome back to N's Notebook LM. Today we're diving into a question that I think haunts a lot of us, and it's all inspired by Paul Millard's book, The Pathless Path. It's really about questioning the very script for success that we've all been handed since we were kids.
So does this hit a little close to home? You've checked all the boxes, right? The good grades, the good job, maybe even that six-figure salary. On paper, you've made it, but there's that nagging feeling of being stuck, isn't there? Of just watching the clock, wondering if this is really all there is. It's a feeling the author knew all too well.
You see, Paul Millard was the absolute picture of success. We're talking prestigious consulting firms, a massive salary, advising CEOs. But he felt restless, constantly chasing the next big, impressive job. This quote, it just perfectly captures his awakening, that moment he realized the life he'd so carefully built felt like it belonged to someone else entirely.
So let's actually put a name to this problem we're talking about. Millard calls it the default path, and it's that life script we're all quietly pressured to follow.
Think of it as, the modern American dream, or what some researchers might call a life script. It's that culturally shared expectation of what a successful life is supposed to look like. And you know the drill. Graduate, get a good job, buy a house, start a family. The thing is, no one really stops to ask why. Because on this path, the what, the accomplishments, are so impressive that the why just feels irrelevant.
So, to master this default path, Millard had to become what he calls a world-class hoop jumper. And I love that term. It's actually from the writer William Deresiewicz, and it describes students who are way more focused on getting the A's and adding bullet points to their resume than, actually learning anything. It's all about playing the game of achievement.
And this slide really shows you what that looks like in practice. Millard didn't just go to college, he hacked it. This wasn't about a deep love of learning, not at all. It was about optimizing for the highest possible GPA with the least amount of resistance. It's about finding the loopholes in the system to win.
So what's driving all this hoop jumping? Well, it's that chase for prestige and the illusion of security that it promises. But as the philosopher Alan Watts points out here, this desire for security, it's a total trap. The more we chase that external validation and those impressive titles to feel secure, the more we're just reinforcing that underlying feeling of insecurity.
But here's the thing about a life built on a life script that someone else wrote for you, it's bound to fail. The default path works just fine until, suddenly, it doesn't. And when it breaks, it forces a major confrontation with the truth. Millard, and he's citing the philosopher Andrew Taggart here, calls these moments existential openings. They're basically crises that force us to grapple with life's biggest, deepest questions. And they often come in one of two forms, either through the profound pain of loss or through these incredible moments of awe and wonder that just make our current life feel small. For Millard, it was definitely the way of loss.
The first crack appeared when his grandfather passed away. He was surrounded by his family, and he just knew, deep down, that relationships were the only thing that mattered. And yet, the grip of the default path was so strong, he actually found himself checking work emails, totally terrified of falling behind. He almost missed his grandfather's final moments for something that, in the grand scheme of things, just didn't matter at all.
The second crack, well, that was more like a fracture. A mysterious illness left him with chronic fatigue. And just like that, his whole identity as a high achiever was gone. All the credentials, McKinsey, MIT, all those fancy titles, they were completely worthless. He said he would have traded all of it for just a single day of feeling healthy.
But right in the middle of this crisis, he found a pretty unexpected tool for hope. He started a blog. And by forcing himself to write sentences filled with optimism, he actually kept that part of himself alive. He was finding gratitude even in his absolute darkest moments.
So these crises were the catalyst, right? They completely destroyed the old map, but they didn't give him a new one. This is the turning point, that moment where the only way forward is to just embrace the unknown.
And this leads us to the alternative, what Millard calls the pathless path. Now, this isn't a new set of instructions. It's the complete opposite. It's a commitment to letting go of the map and trusting that an uncertain future is really an adventure to be lived.
So this requires a really fundamental mindset shift. The default path is all about getting ahead. The next promotion, the bigger salary. The pathless path is about coming alive. It's about rediscovering your curiosity, your creativity, and the work that truly, truly energizes you.
Okay, so if there's no map, how in the world do you navigate? Well, it's not about just aimlessly wandering around. It's about adopting a whole new set of principles for a life of intentional uncertainty.
One of the biggest shifts is escaping what investor Paul Graham calls bad tests. The corporate world is full of them, those unspoken rules about how to act, how to talk, how to navigate the politics just to get ahead. The pathless path, though, especially in the world of independent work, relies on good tests. It's simple. Can you do good work? Are your ideas valuable? That's what matters, not whether you play the game correctly.
And that leads to another really key principle, which is framed as a question you have to ask yourself. The default path's logic is just more is always better. But on the pathless path, you have to define what enough actually looks like for you. Defining your enough is a real act of rebellion. It's about rejecting that mindless pursuit of more. It's about having enough to be profitable, to feel at ease, to know your family is taken care of, and, this is crucial, to have enough freedom to say no to things that don't align with your long-term well-being, even if they offer a nice short-term reward. And all of this leads to the ultimate goal. It's not about escaping work. It's about completely reframing your relationship with it to find what truly matters.
This quote from Maury Schwartz, which you might recognize from Tuesdays with Maury, is really the heart of the pathless path. It's a call to just stop accepting a culture of work and success that leaves you feeling empty. It's an invitation to become the architect of your own life, your own values, your own culture.
And this reframes the entire goal of everything. The real work of your life isn't about escaping the 9-to-5. It's the search itself, that quest to discover the projects, the problems, the pursuits that you're so passionate about that you would just keep doing them forever, whether or not there was a paycheck attached.
And that leaves us with the final and most essential question. Forget what the world tells you to do. Forget the script. What is the work that will make you come alive? What is the real work of your life? If this topic has captured your interest and you'd like to dive deeper, the book is called The Pathless Path by Paul Millerd.